Hello, this is Deborah with Black Education TV. Going to be discussing the Black Panther film again. We had a chance to go see it as a family, and there are so many things that I can say about this movie. So many things. Now, I'm not going to be getting into hidden messages or anything like that in this video. I'm going to be talking about one aspect of this video that I think is just very, very clear. And I may revisit the subject of this video at a later time, dealing with another point, because the videos that I previously did were before I saw the film, and I was just basically discussing the backlash and the responses to the film by various groups. That's what I discussed before. But after seeing the film, I have many other opinions that I would like to share with you all. One of them being the whole response from the Hebrew Israelite community. Now, I did speak about that before because prior to seeing the film, I had already started to see the buzz of everyone discussing it, some in a favorable manner, others in a not so favorable manner. Now, after seeing the film, this is what I'd like to say. I actually already shared a post on Facebook about this. One of my biggest things is for this film, after seeing it, first of all, I'd like to say that I thought the film was magnificent. Okay, very well written. The cast was phenomenal. And some of you are probably cringing hearing me say that. Okay, all of the messages I've seen so far, varying messages from different groups. Everyone has a different opinion. Some use this as a way of educating our people in how things should be. Okay. For some of us, we are actually looking for the bad in everything. So if that's what you went looking for, that's what you're going to find. Okay. However, I must say this. I would say to Hebrew Israelite men, do not go and see this film. Correction, let me say to the Hebrew Israelite men that feel some kind of way about women. That's what the post was that was the post that I put on Facebook. If you feel some kind of way about black women, you don't need to go see this film. It's not going to sit right with you. It's actually going to infuriate you if you go and see this film, if you are a so-called Hebrew Israelite man who feels a certain way about black women. We already know that there is an extreme amount of hatred that some of the brothers, not all, because there are some awesome Hebrew Israelite men that love their wives, love black women, respect, honor, and have a great deal of compassion for our women and our people in general. We know this. Okay, there are men that are like that, and we thank Yah for that group of men who will not allow whatever the spirit is to take hold of them and take over their minds. But there is a segment of the Hebrew Israelite culture where the men, they make it very clear that they despise the black woman. And so if you are one of those men, you need not go and see this movie. First of all, you are going to figure out ways to say some of the most awful things about the women in their appearance, and definitely about how they dealt with situations that they as a group were up against. As a group, they were up against some heavy-duty situations, and the women were not made to sit on the sidelines like some pet dogs, waiting for their next commands to be barked out to them and to roll over like Fido. These women had respect from their men. The men had respect for the women had respect for the men, and they fought alongside each other. And unfortunately, when you look at the rhetoric coming out of a lot of so-called Hebrew Israelite men's mouths, the stench of it all is just a horrible smell, even in the Most High's nose or nostrils. because we know that this is not how it was intended to be. This film is going to break and bust wide open every stereotype that Hebrew Israelite men try to put out there against so-called black women. This movie completely obliterates every stereotype that so-called Hebrew Israelite men want you to believe about the black woman. Now, many of you will argue, well, those are Africans. Those are Africans. Those are not Hebrews. That is not our culture. It was a fake film, blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. But what I find amazing, in which this is something that I want to point out, and some people have already noticed, there were things that were said in there that could indicate that there was an overlapping of Israelite culture with Hamitic culture. See, we think anything that's about Africa, filmed in Africa, has to be about Africans or Hamites, when we forget that the majority of the tribes are still left in Africa. This whole 12 tribes mess have people believing that there are hardly any Israelites left in Africa and that they're all down in South America, and they've all of a sudden changed their appearance to the mixed people that you see down in South America looking like Latinos. That's because of the lies that these Judahite men have been preaching and teaching and just spewing for decades. Because of their hatred for the black female, the black woman. That hatred has caused them to paint the likeness of the images of the women that they want to see. And so therefore, many of you should probably not go and see this film, because you're going to see women that you despise doing some very noble, honorable, virtuous things. Virtuous. Hear what I'm saying here. It's just a warning. If you haven't seen it, don't go and see it, because it's not going to make the black female, look like some crazed lap dog that waits for her commands to be barked out at her. That's not what you're going to see if you go to this film. As a matter of fact, when I did the post, I was being sarcastic. I said, if you are a so-called Hebrew Israelite man who feels some kind of way about black women, you probably shouldn't go and see this film. And there was a brother who actually responded and said that my post was confirmation that Yah was trying to tell him not to go see it. And so I just kind of left it right there. I wasn't going to go back and forth with the brother, but it's interesting when it comes to something like this. Yah told them not to watch the film. I found that very interesting, because they don't want to be reminded that the daughters of Zion are loved too. They want to keep it in their minds that the daughters of Zion, or what they believe that the daughters of Zion are to be, like one sister said, the scum under the bottom of their feet. That's how they make a lot of the daughters of Zion feel, like the scum underneath their feet. That's what some brothers would have you to believe, that even the Most High views us in that way. So if you are one of those brothers who think that way, like the brother we put in Tarnished Awakening, who was saying that you should call your woman or your wife a B until she thinks that's her name, you don't need to go see this film, because you might leave out of the building puking. Because the woman, the so-called black woman, is not portrayed the way you think she should be portrayed. That is a huge error that's going on among our brothers, to believe that the black woman is supposed to be treated like trash, and that the Most High himself endorses this behavior. For anyone to think that way. And what I find amazing, I saw a brother who had said, he said something, it sounded like wishful thinking to me, but he said that's why the Most High gonna start killing y'all black women. This is what this brother was saying. He said the Most High is going to start killing y'all black women. But he said something else. He said black bees, right? And I said to myself, this man, you're sounding like this is what you want to happen. But in all actuality, the Most High has been allowing the spirit of death to take over, more so the black man, which is why he said, which is why the word said that there's going to be 7 women for every 1 man. Some text actually says 11 women for every one man. But in his fantasy, he said the Most High is going to start killing y'all black so-and-sos, talking about the black female. This shows the great disdain that these hypocritical Hebrew Israelite men, not all of them, because some brothers who go by the name Hebrew Israelite are actually very righteous brothers. I have to keep saying that because I don't want someone to take this and say that I feel this way about the brothers. This is not what I'm feeling. I love my brothers and I love my sisters. I love my people, period. But I do not tolerate and I do not accept this behavior where the brothers feel like we are to be hated and they are wishing for our death as black women, so-called black women. Because I too know that we are not black. But a lot of people who listen to my videos are not clear on what our culture is. And so I have to make the corrections where necessary, but I also have to speak this way so that you understand what I'm talking about when I say Israelite men or Israelite women, not Hebrew Israelite, because I have cut myself off from that because it has become some crazed religion that a lot of people are frowning upon. And the scripture says, woe unto you shepherds who scatter my sheep, because of the rhetoric and the wickedness that is coming forth out of these camps and some of these wicked assemblies and some of these people in general who call themselves Hebrew Israelites. A lot of people are not wanting this truth. And so we that love the Most High, we that love the truth, we that honor our heritage and our culture, we have got to set the record straight as often as we can to combat the foolishness that we see coming out of this false religion that has sprung up in the place of the true awakening. We as a people, being the children of Jacob, or the children of Yaakov, we the children of Israel, Jacob Yisrael, are waking up. And we have got to combat this foolishness to where you have black men who think this way about the women of Judah. Or should I say the women of Israel, period. Because most of these men, when they go off and they call themselves marrying someone from another tribe, all they say, oh, she's from the tribe of Ephraim. Or that's Issachar. And so they feel that they can marry these people because they've assigned a tribe to them. And I find it amazing that none of these people want to marry somebody from the tribes over in Africa. These hypocritical men do not want to marry a woman from one of the tribes in Africa, but they always conveniently find themselves marrying women that they've assigned as women of Israel, when they know that these people are not from the 12 tribes of Israel. They know they're not. They know that they are the descendants of Spanish males. They know this, but they've created their own narrative and established their own righteousness so that they can continue their hate for the daughters of Zion. And we know what the word says about that. No one gets away with that type of thing because the Most High says you have created an abomination against him. And he says because you have dealt treacherously against him, not just against the daughters of Zion. His word says that you have dealt treacherously against him. He's going to punish you for it because you have increased the sins of Israel because you hate the daughters of Zion. There are no free passes on this. You can try to switch and twist the scriptures whichever way you want. You can try to rewrite the narrative or come up with some other meaning, whatever you want to do. It is what it is. And the truth will always be. Now, that's my take on the Black Panther as far as the so-called Hebrew Israelite men go. If you feel some kind of way about so-called black women, you should probably stay home and sit this one out. Shalom, family.